Hi there, my name is Cassidy DeMarais, and these are my video question responses. So for the first question, talking about a time that I've had to overcome an obstacle and what steps I took and what was the outcome. Over this past school semester, I endured a very serious hand injury, and it was something very detrimental to the remainder of my semester. I had to take a pause on a lot of my performance classes because of not being able to play my instrument. It was incredibly discouraging because I've always been so passionate about my violin playing and just how I go about treating my music and how it betters me as a person and as a teacher. After my accident, I had to overcome a lot of the things that had just happened, like just the idea that my accident happened. It was very hard to process. I had 2 weeks of stitches and then another 2 weeks of recovery after that. And those 2 weeks after I got my stitches out, it was really tough because I could only spend about 5 minutes playing my instrument before having to take a 30-minute break just because of how much strength I lost in my hand. But this entire process was a challenge, but in the end, it gave me a deeper appreciation for what I do and what I want to become. For the second question of being in a parent-teacher conference, the things that I want to communicate. Some things that I would like to establish in my first parent-teacher conference are my classroom expectations. This is super important because, yes, the students will hear them in class. Yes, they will be sent home with a handbook of some kind, but it's important to me that parents hear things verbally. Because some parents think, oh, they'll read through it, they might read through it, maybe not, but if they hear it, it might stick better. So I would like to use verbal explanation to solidify my intentions. It also is made how to communicate with me as a teacher. Parents have the opportunity to email me, but I will only respond during school/business hours. There will be no communication outside of that time. That's in class, in school kind of period is the best way to communicate with me because that outside time is kind of for me as a teacher. It's a way for me to plan lessons for my students, and it's a way for me to just kind of process what's been going on and how to better plan for the rest of my school year. Question number 3, having a class of 22 students and it's my first year teaching. And just how I would pair up certain students. I would like to pair up kind of my advanced students and my struggling students, kind of pair them next to each other. So have just kind of an array of students everywhere, but kind of have a tendency to put some of my struggling students next to my more advanced students. This isn't to intimidate anybody. It's not to make anybody bored or to seem over the top about anything. It actually, in my perspective, it gives the advanced students a chance to deeper understand what they're learning. It allows them to kind of expand on the knowledge that they know having to teach another student, or at least to help another student. This also, the students who struggle also have an opportunity to learn from one of their peers rather than having that kind of hierarchy of student to teacher. And there's just a lot of more common knowledge, and students can break it down easier for other students rather than what a teacher could do. For question 4, what role do I believe technology plays in learning? When used correctly, technology has a very significant role in modern day education. As somebody who has grown up with technology my entire life, and I spent half of my high school career and then the majority of my college career working with my computer and having to do a lot of my schoolwork on there, it's very important. How I would use this as an educator is it can actually allow students to connect with their peers outside of school and give them some sort of positive learning and a positive impact, because students can find ways to misuse technology. But I think within the right setting, and specifically as a music educator, I think it's very useful because students can send each other videos. Hey, this is what I think this is going to sound like. This is what I found. This is what my video sounds like. Use this as a reference. Students can kind of use this as a sort of influence, as a positive influence, moreover, but I think it's super important. For question 5, having an irate parent, and just how I would deal with these sorts of things. If I were to have an upset parent come to me and request a meeting with the principal, I would like to further understand the reasoning behind what happened. Maybe it was some sort of miscommunication, or it was, and for example, if it pertains to their child's performance in class. In that case, we could assess what has been happening in the situations where the student may not participate or retain the information being taught. There are sometimes students just get distracted in class and it doesn't always stick. But it could also be an issue of a lack of participation, especially in music. If you're not participating in what's going on, there's a lot of technical things, especially with our hands. If you're not participating, it makes a serious just decrease in learning and abilities in all of our music students. But I'm willing to communicate and see how things may have been misinterpreted in other situations. For question 6, completing observations in an elementary classroom. And having a student that I may have known previously before I started student teaching. Regardless of my relationship with the parent or student, reports on that specific student will and should remain professional across every sort of platform. In this scenario, I am only observing. I am an observing teacher. I am not strictly an educator to this student. Therefore, I recommend that this parent should contact the teacher directly. This would give a clearer communication, making sure that no boundaries are crossed between teacher and student teacher or someone observing. I may know the behavioral situation of a student, but I would not usually handle parents in terms of some sort of like behavioral report. For question 7, describing a time where I was part of a work and learning team. I'm actually currently working as a coach at Crockett Middle School Orchestra. I've been working there for about a year and a half now, and I currently help lead student sectionals and occasionally lead classes when my director is out. This role has had a lot of moments of individualism, but has mostly been collaborating with my director and other coaches employed there at Crockett Middle School. Currently, I pull small groups of students out for sectionals, giving mini lessons, short 10, 15-minute lessons, and then leading small portions of the classes. Those small portions will usually consist of just some sort of small demonstration, giving any other way to easily break down a subject that's happening that maybe, a lot of students grasp this idea, but it's not clicking with everybody. Giving that secondhand idea is definitely helpful to a lot of students. And even the students who got it the first time, it could even just kind of get that light bulb even brighter, in my opinion. For question 8, students coming from diverse backgrounds and circumstances. I think we as teachers have so much to offer to a student in terms of just sort of, not even as just in terms of education, in terms of support. A lot of students don't have the support system they need at home or in their personal environment, so us as teachers have the opportunity to somewhat provide that situation for them if needed, being a source of encouragement. And as important as it is to make connections and relationships with your students, you want to remain professional. There's no need to get any sort of argument or some sort from a parent being, this happened with my kid. It's just, we don't need that. Keeping relationships with students as professional as possible is definitely what we want. We still want that dynamic of student to teacher. But making sure that there's that small connection of, if my student needs me, this is a safe place to come to. Like, I am a safe person to come and talk to if they need me. And there's so much knowledge to be passed down from teacher to student, but there's just not enough hours in a day. I think we can all agree on that. But teachers should still give their best to make sure that all of their students have the knowledge that they need to succeed in whatever class or whatever profession they're wanting to go into. And with a final question of a time I've tried really hard at a task, thinking I've prepared, things just didn't end up well. So personally, as a musician, you always try your best to perform at your best. You practice and practice and practice for hours on end, and you think you have it, and sometimes you don't. but sometimes they still turn out differently than what you intended. After hours of practicing, for myself personally, my time for a seminar, what we call a seminar performance in the string department, is just a performance that you give in front of the string department. So the faculty and students enrolled in the string department came around. I did rehearsals with my piano player, and I thought it was going great. Like, rehearsals went well. I practiced on my own and things sounded great. I got up on the stage. I was a little nervous. Nothing really new for me though. And I got up there and I played, and it just crashed and burned. I mean, it was, ooh, but it's just kind of one of those, it just was kind of like a snowball effect. Like, one thing happened, it just progressively got worse. But as disappointed as I may have been in myself, I also had a lot of negative commentary from professors about how things just should have been better. Not that they could have been better, but that they should have been better. This, over time, just becomes very discouraging, and it kind of starts to hurt just hearing constant negativity. But although criticism is an essential to improving as a musician, it should be done constructively rather than being derogatory towards somebody else. And that constant negativity as a musician is not encouraging. You know what you're doing, you know how things are supposed to sound. Like, all of us have trained ears, so we hear when things are wrong. So we're already upset at ourselves, and then just constantly hearing the negativity is just very, very frustrating. But the next time I was faced with the same type of performance, a string seminar performance, I tried to treat my practice sessions as performances so I could eliminate what we call performance mistakes. Things that don't happen in the practice room, but they happen on stage. So it's just kind of that confusion of why aren't they connecting? So rather than just practicing how I always do, I tried treating my practice sessions as performances, so those practice mistakes would go away, or they would be less likely to happen in an actual performance in front of other people. Well, that is all the questions. Thank you so much.